However, this space is what we make it per the blurb. Hey, Michelle, it's good to see your wonderful face. And what I'll do is just yield so that Michelle can introduce herself, just informal chat as folks get in.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for allowing me to come in a little bit late. My very talkative supervisor, this is being recorded, so I'm being cautious. Very talkative supervisor had me on a call. So my name is Michelle Swyka. I work at the University of Cincinnati and serve as an assistant director for housing facility operations. And I also have the pleasure of working alongside Deanna as co-chair for the Women in Housing Network. So thanks for being with us today.
And since right now we are rocking with a small group, if y'all are able, we can just kind of popcorn, just intros. So if you're in a place to allow for your voice to be heard, I'll just start from left to right. And right now I see Beth. So Beth, if you could just do a quick intro and then we'll jump from Beth to Denaja. All right, so Denaja, whenever you're ready, you can just do a quick intro for the good of the group and we'll popcorn to Christina.
Cool. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Denaja Pendergrass-Thomas. My pronouns are she, her, and sis. I currently serve as the director of the Placement Exchange, and I am in Greensboro, North Carolina.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Christina. I use she, her pronouns, and I am a residence coordinator at the University of Texas at Tyler.
And now I see Tori and Bernadine.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tori Jackson. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the area coordinator for first year communities at William Peace University in Raleigh, North Carolina.
My name is Bernadine Griffin. My pronouns are she, her, hers. Currently a community director at Bucknell University in Pennsylvania, but my last day is Friday, and then I will be a managing assistant director of residential education and development at Kane University. So very excited to head to New York, even though I will miss Pennsylvania a lot. So.
And I see Julie.
Hi, Julie McMahon, Director of Housing and Residential Life at USC Upstate.
And then Kim just joined us. Hi, Kim. We're just doing informal intros before we kind of get into conversing about all things professional development. So if you are in a good space, you can either drop in the chat and or just introduce yourself by pressing unmute. Well, all right, friends. So welcome again as folks join us. Michelle and I are going to do our best to add in real time. For folks that are realistically doing all the things, we're wishing you all the best, giving y'all a great energy to keep pushing, as well as challenging you all to stretch, stay hydrated, get you some fresh air if and when you can, because we know for some of us, summertime is just as busy as the regular season time of the fall and spring. I feel like it's all regular in the joys of housing and residence life. So know that you are appreciated. And in order to give the best of yourself as much as you can, you got to take care of yourself. So without further ado, we're just going to open the floor after we kind of frame a little bit about what we learned from our open meeting earlier this month. When discussing and making sense of professional development, and know that the purpose of this recording is for those who aren't able to be present with us, as well as for us to review and then speak with leadership if and when there are great questions presented and or opportunities presented that could benefit a COI and its members. So what Michelle and I are going to do is just go to some of our notes to kind of spark the conversation or the start of the conversation. About what was shared during the open floor meetings, which are typically held on the second Wednesdays. Make sure I'm getting it right. Same time frame, 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern time. So if you haven't seen the registration or you would like to have opportunities to jump in, jump out, it's real chill, what's on your mind type space. And it just gives us opportunities to connect, share any pertinent information that would be beneficial, and or create moments of connecting outside of the standardized moments that we have to connect. So Michelle, if you're in a good place, you can let me know with both of us having the doc up, and we can just flow through some of the points that were stated then to see if that kind of sparks conversation or questions around professional development. That sounds cool.
Yeah, let's do it. So I think let's pose the first question. We asked this to the group, and I think that this was a really good starting conversation question. And so we would like to know, how do you define professional development? We'll put the question in the chat as well.
I got you.
Thanks.
Think of oh, good afternoon, y'all. My name's Kim. I'm from the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. But I think for me, professional development is anything that's going to challenge me to grow in something that I already know potentially, or even just getting new experiences or points of views on maybe a topic or two that I don't know anything about. And so putting myself out there to try to gain some new skills and new knowledge about something I'm unfamiliar with.
Thank you for sharing, Kim. I mean, I saw a few head nods, which means that resonates, and or that was just some good stuff that was being received. So we appreciate that. Were there any other self-definitions of professional development?
I would say for me, professional development, I'd always think about things that can refill my cup. So even if it is somewhat personal, I still feel like it's professional development because I'm my best self when my cup is full. So that's what I really enjoy, just connecting with people, hearing people have the same struggles I do, knowing I'm not alone. And even if we have no solution, just hearing I'm not alone can like make the world a difference for me. So I guess it's more on the personal side, but I do tie it into professional development.
Hi, friends. I think I would also add that I think it's different for everybody. And I think it's important as a team and as a supervisor of others that we're talking with our team about what they need. I have seen professional development take many different shapes, whether that's working with the competency model and helping a staff member grow through different competencies to better their chances of their next job search. And it's very directed at something that they need, or as a team doing a book read. I think sometimes we get so locked into professional development needing to be a conference. And while that's a great way to get professional development, there's other training that can take place. There's training on your own campuses with HR. And so just putting all of that out there for staff to get training as they can fit it into our very, very busy schedules allows them to develop and grow.
Thank you both. I love, Bernadine, how you opened up about the holistic nature of it, the personal and professional, because I know oftentimes we've had conversations in the past about sometimes it's like a tug of war of feeling like you have to compartmentalize who you are and how you show up as just you in comparison to the work you. So I like that that is something that you value and don't really talk about having to separate. And Julie, you hit the head on the nail, which was the motivation of us creating this space. Sometimes we just see professional development in a very black and white way, and or some people just assume that if I'm not getting a conference experience, I'm not being professionally developed. But I love how you mentioned the opportunities with your HR, seeing what training and development spaces there are, and then asking this very question to get a sense of how are folks making sense of what it means if your department or your institution hasn't truly defined what is professional development, and or given people strategies or examples of what they can get out of beyond being an employee doing what the position description and other duties as assigned says. But love the definitions and the sense making of what it means. Was there anything else that somebody wanted to add to when it comes to just your personal self-definition before Michelle posed the next question, and or you all jumped in with some questions for yourselves?
I just appreciated it because I remember having a position where it was hard to explain why I did not want to use any of my funds on a conference. And they were like, what? I was like, no, I would like to actually order these books and sign up for this virtual thing. And there was no policy. They're like, I'm not sure if you can do that. And I was like, but this is professional development. And so sometimes our field is always around like, well, what conference do you want to go to? And it's like, none, I'm good. So I learned very early on to be in a place to advocate for what professional development looks like for me, and have that language and conversation with my supervisor. So Julia, that's why I was like, yes, absolutely.
We just started having that conversation on our campus about professional development versus conference travel. And it started out as how do you prioritize conference travel, and then carried over into, well, what, not everybody wants to go to a conference. So how do we make sure that they're still getting the professional development? So it was a really good conversation. So thanks for sharing that, Janaja. I appreciate that others are also having the same kinds of conversations and moments of it. So I wanted to share a couple of the definitions that we jotted down from when we had our open meeting. A lot of similar or in the same spirit. One of them, one of the participants had shared what you're doing in your current role to prepare for your next role. So I think getting those experiences and learning about maybe different areas of the department, intentional interactions and networking with other professionals on your campus was one of the ones. Someone had shared Gandhi's quote, "Be the change you wish to see in the world," and that it was mandatory for their staff to have professional development plans that benefited the departmental objectives. So I thought that tying that in together was really impactful. And then someone had shared, I look at professional development as upgrading and enhancing your professional toolbox, also learning different ways to use the tools you already have.
And Beth had dropped in a really good takeaway that I'll verbalize for those that aren't able to be in the space but can hear. But she stated that LinkedIn has free trainings to help build in areas, and it's not related, that maybe not related to housing, which in my mind is a-okay, right? Because I know within my role and scope, I'm having conversations with some entry level and mid-level professionals that are wary about, like, I thought I was a res life and I was going to be a res lifer, but I don't know. And trying to reassure them that that's okay, and to actually pay attention to like the skill set and the transferable things that they have gained in this role that can set them up for if it's adjacent or completely outside of student affairs, higher education. So thank you so much, Beth, for dropping that in there as well for folks who may feel unsure, right? Or may know for a fact, right? This is a season, right? But I'm looking to transition into, a different field or a different industry beyond student affairs. We hope you stay. We want you to stay, but we also, more importantly, want you to be happy and to feel like you're being challenged and thriving in your personal and professional journeys.
And if you think of other things, feel free to drop them in the chat. Sometimes my processing, I'm not gonna project on others what my processing looks like. Mine is a lot slower depending on the time of day. So feel free to throw that in there. So another question that we had asked the group was, what are the buckets of professional development that folks dip into, right? Buckets. So and so we left it really wide open. We didn't want to steer the conversation in any specific way. And so the 4 buckets that came up in conversation are, well, actually, I'm gonna let you all do this first, and then we'll share, and then we'll talk about some of them. But so we came up with 4 buckets in our last conversation. What are some areas or some buckets that you all like to dip into for your professional development, topical areas or otherwise?
I can say for me, I think one of the things that I really like to focus on is mental health. I have a degree, I have 2 masters, one is in counseling psychology. So I really like to focus in on that and vicarious trauma and the impact it has on on-call professionals and RAs in general.
That's great. Julie popped in the in the chat, leadership and DEI. work-life balance, using journaling and efficiency of time, strategic planning, assessment, good stuff.
Mhm. And supervision was a one, with the focus on acknowledging generational differences in the workplace. And it's been some really good articles, discussing ways that we can intentionally support everyone across generations and or things we can be cognizant of because of the benefit it is. Once we learn how to have crucial conversations as well as understand how socialization has shaped the way people show up in the workplace. So I love that point. Management and coaching. I love these buckets. Budget, understanding and review. And that's important whether or not you're doing the work in university housing, student affairs. Something that I've started doing 2 years ago with entry-level staff professionals, because I think it's often implied, hey, welcome to housing. And a part of your job is to make purchases, right? And to maintain a budget for staff. But we assume folks have a certain base level of financial literacy to know how to do those things effectively. So a couple of years ago, I started almost like those informal masterclass sessions of looking at what's already in the space that's working excellently. So I think of the Budgetnista, Dave Ramsey's program, and so many Claude Anderson that have tools that are free and accessible to help people to understand what different types of budgets exist, how to utilize them, and then the language and importance of understanding what that language is and means as you're navigating both. And if you didn't take the wonderful class of accounting or finance and basic principles in undergrad. But this is good stuff, y'all. Michelle, you wanted to share some of the buckets? I
Yeah.
think we saw a few that were cross on the same page. So that's pretty cool to see some
Absolutely.
themes aligning. Yeah.
Yeah, the supervision piece of professional staff versus supervising student staff. And someone had commented how to be an equity-centered supervisor as part of that. Another bucket was situational leadership, placing value where their value, their personal and professional development. And some of the commentary around that one was around managing crisis and people management as well. We talked about strengths-based leadership. Strengths Quest came up, and there were other conversations around strengths-based leadership and tools that folks use for strengths-based leadership. And then turning to campus partners, so sort of networking, but turning to campus partners to enhance what you have and or develop new business, and not necessarily waiting until conference season to call colleagues either on your own campus or at other campuses, on other regions, just to connect with them and do some best practicing as well. So I was just going to say, Deanna, unless you don't want me to head this direction, in those buckets, like what are some things that you all are doing already or you dream of doing to fill those buckets around professional development? I think one of the things we were hoping to do is to generate almost like a resource list or an ideas kind of database dump for all of us around what are other folks doing that maybe I haven't thought of or haven't had the capacity to do, or that's low cost because we don't have the funds, or I don't want to go to a conference. I'd rather engage in these other development opportunities. So what are some, maybe not unique to you, but unique to other folks, things that you are doing or you have seen done?
I'm trying to be present for y'all, but Tina Turner passed away. It ain't sitting well with me.
I did not know that. Wow.
Yeah. But I think to answer your question about what have we done to fill the buckets in terms of like publishing on that and also defining what that looks like for, especially for the differences between leadership, supervision, and management. There's only so long I can ride the wave of that one article that I printed that talks about the differences. I got to add to that and finding time to add to that too, right? And I think that because I work in housing, I do live in housing too. I've taken that opportunity to kind of look at how can I use that as a little bit of a laboratory to kind of try some things out and push some things and suggest some stuff, right, within my scope of control with that part there too. I've also tried to present on these things so that way other people who are looking to fill their buckets can attend to those things. So try to be out there to talk about those things too as well. I'm sorry to drop that noise on y'all about Tina Turner, but my phone is going up and I was like, what is going on? Our provost also to announce that she's leaving today. It was the first African-American provost today. Today's not a good day for us. I'm a little emotional. I cried. I don't know why. Maybe it's my time of the month. Well, I know I'm in a safe space. Plenty of y'all know me. Plenty of y'all got my phone number, so I'm in a safe space. So, but I don't know what's going on. And I need to stop eating all the snacks because I think that also might be a trigger too, or a cure or whatever I'm trying to do with that from a psychology perspective. But thank you so much, Elizabeth. Well, yeah, that's answer your question.
I've become a morning reader, and I actually got that from a non-female leader. He just very flat was like, I block my schedule off. I read the first 90 minutes of every morning. And I was like, oh, that's a part of the job. He was like, I need to be knowledgeable when I go into these meetings. So, right, I read Gallup. I read a lot from the Center for Creative Leadership. I have really tried to look at the skills that I want to hone in on and find the most relevant resource. And if I'm honest, 99.9% of the time, it's outside of student affairs or higher education. But I no longer feel bad about it because my job is to figure out how to take that and then tailor it for my work in the field. And so if the goal is leadership, I want to learn the most I can learn about leadership. So a lot of that is listening to the podcast while I work, or just listening to a podcast before I start my day. It's reading the articles, it's reading the resources. And with that, like the journaling piece, so that I can make meaning of it. And then the other thing that has been helpful for the practical things like budget, and when I was on a campus position, it was actual people. I made relationships, or I have, particularly now that I'm in the TPE role, right? The massive budget between Aspen and Hawaii, I was like, there's no manual on this. Olivia is like my new best friend. And so like, I literally just get tutoring on the budget. And so like, she teaches me things, I go back and do them. We check by quarter. She's like, that's close, still wrong. Go back. And so it's finding someone maybe in your network who is an expert and getting them to be willing to spend the time. When I was at Duke, our director of housing was a whiz. And when he would walk my communities, I just started walking with him. And he was the one who was like, this is what we mean when we say fire doors. This is what we talk about when we're looking at X, Y, and Z. And so our weekly walks became like my own personal tutoring lessons, so that when I interviewed for a higher level position, I actually had like working knowledge, not because I've been on the housing outside, but like someone had helped me understand a bit more about what they do.
I wanted to share with all of you some of the training that we do here at Upstate. It's very centered in our HR, but they've got certificate programs. And I'm well into my 50s and I still love getting the certificate. But my team are all under 30 and they're all about getting those certificates too. And so I ended up taking all of the sessions that they offer and grouped them based on what certificate you can get, and made these forms for my staff so that they could be checking them off as they're getting them. That whole check something off. I feel good about the progression I'm making. And then we keep it in their folder so that we know how are they progressing and are we close to getting them, because also the trainer sometimes forgets to send the certificate. And so if we've got the form that says, no, I've got all my dates, we'll send it to her and be like, yeah, we got a certificate coming our way. they do a really nice newsletter too, and they include the photos of people. And once they started doing that, a lot of our folks campus wide then started being really committed to getting that training. And they actually, I didn't want this, but I was actually highlighted in the magazine because I'm one of the only supervisors on campus that's like, I need you to get this training. It will make you a better supervisor, a better professional, a better person. It's going to help you get to your next spot, whether it's on this campus or someplace else. And so by advocating for my team to make time on their calendars, I asked them to block off up to 3 hours a week for professional development. And that can be, I'm reading, that could be, I'm watching a podcast, that could be, I'm attending a training, and maybe it's 3 1 hours, or maybe it's 1 3 hour, or I'm presenting a program at an upcoming conference. And so I need this time to work on the presentation or to talk to my co-presenters who are someplace else. And so they can use it however they need. But like we have one of our certificates is equity and inclusion. And so I just pulled it up on my other screen. So there's multi-generational workplace, cross-cultural communication, green zone, which is we are a veterans campus. So there's special training about how to be provide the best services to veterans. Safe zone ally, becoming accessible, communication skills, and civil treatment. So you get you get all of those, you get your equity and inclusion certificate. Then we have a Spartan excellence in community or customer service. So there's customer service the Disney way, DISC personality, civil treatment, so it counts for others, communicating on the front lines, which they bring a national presenter in once a semester to do that one, stress management, lean process, lean basics. And then when you're a brand new staff member, within your first 4 months of being here, you will have been here over the course of one of our orientations. So every new employee, whether whenever you get here and that happens, you get this massive tour of campus. And so they come over here to the residence halls, but they go to the rec center, they go down to the athletic area, and they see all the athletic gym and all of their special lounge area. They get to go down to the George and see, which is our business school, and see our statewide advocacy program for foster child. And then they have a big lunch with all the top administrators and stuff. So it's a big deal, and they get a big gift and, really cool stuff. And so you go to that, it's called Upstate 101. That'll give them their excellence in service. Then there's effective communication. And then we've got lead 1, 2, and 3. So depending on what level of a supervisor you are, you can do all 3, you can do 2, or you can only do 1 of them. It just depends on where you are in your supervision. And I love that about our campus, because they're not only committed to it, but then I am able to push that out. And we just developed a new one called Managing High Performing Teams. It has 13 classes that you go to. And that probably has been one of the more impactful sessions that I did myself. So I'm an advocate for any training we can get, and ask my staff to join me on that journey.
We were taking notes, just so you know, Julie. Those were some outstanding things that Upstate is doing, and I appreciate how you talked about intentionally doing what you can within your role and scope to inform your staff that, one, it's a priority, and then that incentive. If they love those some certificates, look, go ahead and certificate it up. I know here, gamification is a fun thing, right? So we've been brainstorming about badges. And I'm learning about all of that because there's an assumption that because I was a sport management major, I know about all of the aspects of sports. And I'm gonna tell you now, I know nothing about gamification. I just know that games are cool to play, but I can tell you everything about the business side of sports from an executive level and how to operate and manage, recreation centers and super domes and things of that nature. But I love what you shared. I'm hopeful other folks are taking some good notes as well. And I'm excited to continue to hear the things that you all are even thinking about if you aren't currently doing. I saw Christina had dropped in that one-on-ones with the supervisor is great professional development, co-sign on that, and learning how to be a supervisor and how staff want to be supervised is also a benefit to understanding professional development and supporting those who are in need of it, which is an invaluable gem that I think a lot of people sleep on because it's not the glamour face fronting, right? When we think about what can be tangibly seen and or experienced. So Christina, thank you for sharing that.
I think taking advantage of everything that's offered on campus and stuff is also a good way to tap into some of your professional development. I know a couple years ago, I was able to serve on our exempt staff council within our university. And so I was like elected or chosen from our division to represent the division at that council group. And so I was able to meet with a lot of different other folks from different schools and parts of the university, and then was elected to chair it. And I was like, what? And everything. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. But it was fun. It was fun to chair it for that year or so. But doing that, and then also within our division of student life here, we have a fellowship program that people, after they've worked here for like 2 years or so, or at least a year, for their working a year here at the university, they can apply within the division to like work in a different office, just to get some different experiences and maybe bridging some gaps of understanding, or even new skill sets to help you move upward or forward or across into different fields and all that stuff. And so I haven't taken advantage of that yet, because honestly, like some things within a division, I'm like, I don't want, I kind of know a little bit about it, but it's been a good resource for our hall directors and things like that to maybe even put their feet in the water if they want to do work on like care and resilience, and our Dean of Students office, or with student conduct or student disability services or things like that. And so I just try to encourage my staff to like utilize all the different things that are around campus that are really free and right at your fingertips, per se. We also have this great online program called Kate, and they have different certifications and like, I guess, kind of like online modules that you can take to learn more about supervision, or even honing in on your computer skills. Like if you're not great at Excel or something like that, they have different courses on that you can take too. And so I just really try to hype it up of like, it's not all about going to a different place and being at a conference and things like that, but there's a lot of things at your fingertips that you can use that you don't, if you just think a little outside of the box, you can get that professional development that you need to get those skills that you want to move on with, or just have under your belt so that you can use it later.
I think some of I love professional development, and it's not just the conference stuff, right? But like before I was in the role that I'm in now, I used to beg, borrow, and steal to get in on construction conversations, right? Like I just want to hear the words that are being used and the conversations that are happening. And then lo and behold, they need someone in a role like that, and they create one and they just slide you into it, right? So like benefits to asking, I suppose, to be part of those conversations, but like really being able to think about your job as professional development as well. Right now, all that's on my brain is hall opening. I know we just closed the buildings, but we're completely revamping our hall opening, and it's been a 10-month labor of love. And the number of humans that I've interacted with to talk about traffic and parking and two-way radios and swag for volunteers, and like things that, you know, my 20 plus years of residence life work, 15 years of residence life work, it just didn't give me those logistics parts of it, right? I just took it for granted that, you know, the students get here somehow and unload their stuff, and then they're our problem. They're not our problem, but you know, we take over at that point. But being on the other side of that, I think, has been a huge professional development eye-opener for me, of being able to see like the other part of large processes for our campus and our department. So it's pretty cool.
Also think about when we have entry-level staff that are fresh out of a graduate experience that may be at a different institution, and opportunities that respective departments can do with sharing like those foundational materials, right? So again, going back to, if you know you are a NASPA school, right, or an ACUHO school and or strength-based school, giving them that ABCs of the definitions and the key concepts, so that when you do decide to ask them, hey, what is your professional development plan, or what is your definition of professional development, they have something to guide them, outside of being nervous with like, I really don't know, right? I put in 2 years here and I'm happy to be here, and whatever the institutions is, right? So providing that clarity, as well as paying attention to just natural things that they enjoy, because that's how I start a lot of conversations when folks don't know the language or the way of the land, just saying, what do you find yourself smiling about, and just what are you excited to do? And sometimes it's, conversations, or problem solving, or, sitting with folks that talk about SPSS and in vivo and Python. We have folks who have so many wonderful skill sets. So starting there to say, well, hey, have you looked at ACUHO's leadership competency, or the NASPA ACPA competencies that aligns with these natural things you're interested in? Here's something that can help you to create the plan, right? When you think of your first year, because we pour ourselves out a lot and then we look up. And if we haven't established a plan and then checkpoints throughout the year to revisit said plan, we question, am I being professionally developed? Or I don't know if I had a development opportunity, if it isn't that tangible thing to pinpoint. So something I can shout out Florida State on is that we all have to do professional development plans, right? And it is based off of competencies that right now we're NASPA, so now it's NASPA and ACPA, they've come together. Like that, to me, that's a beautiful thing when it comes to their competencies and strategies that allows for people to recognize that they've achieved, right, or they are proficient or foundational wherever you are, in making sense of that and what it looks like when you act it out. But we give a time period in which folks have to intentionally work on it. And then when they're having their one-on-ones throughout the year, ever so often there's a conversation about how have you accomplished XYZ, right? Or have you given this point some thought? And then if not, HR website, right? Or there's this upcoming webinar that's free that is in alignment with your Excel skill set you want to increase in. Or, hey, there's an informational meeting opportunity when we're looking at bringing in new furniture and having conversations with vendors and different bids that can be considered. You should take advantage. So that's something that I definitely wanted to share in the space. And I'm happy to also share the plan. If folks are like, can I look at that plan? Because we're talking about it, or we have one, but we're still trying to fill in, some more nuts and bolts. So if y'all are interested in that, please make sure to let me know, and or just communicate via the Gmail account once I give all the plugs of the emails, so that we can make sure that that's a resource that's accessible to you all. And I'll also do my part for folks who are already checking out the community we have in our ACUHO page, the Women in Housing Network page. I'll upload it there as well so you can access it.
Well, I'm going to plug one of the things that the Women in Housing Network has been doing as a form of professional development, right? And so we have our mentor-mentee program, where it's I like to call it a choose your own adventure initiative. So if you want to participate, we have a form. We'll make sure to put it in the link, or put the link in the chat. And you're welcome to sign up for it. Oh, look at this. Deanna and I are on the same page here. So you can sign up for it, and then it's really like you go look at the spreadsheet and see, okay, who's on here who may have some same interests as me, or a career path that I want to follow, or some or maybe, I've just heard of this person, like the great Aja Holmes, Dr. Aja Holmes, I heard of her. Let me schedule some time with her, right? And so there's an opportunity to connect and network and engage that way. And I personally like those types of opportunities because it's on my own time, at my own pace, doing my own thing, and 30 minutes, right? 30 minute commit to 30 minutes. And if you hate it, then that's okay. You don't have to do another one, or maybe you love it and you re-engage and do those sorts of things, do those kinds of conversations back on your own campus or engage with other folks as well. So plug, right?
Were there any other thoughts or questions around professional development or whatever else is on your mind if y'all are feeling good about what we have been able to discuss within the space? Okay, so Michelle and I are going to take that beautiful moment of silence as y'all are good. And that is wonderful. What I'm going to do now is do some copy and pasting for ways that you all can let us know how we're doing, stay connected with us, as well as continue to network and engage with one another. So I just dropped our Gmail account, which is where we keep everything. So when transitions occur, we pass password information, all the archived information to the next parties. So there's an opportunity for you to ask questions, make comments, share concerns, and understand that we have a liaison with Akuho's headquarters. So know that whatever you do communicate, if you are comfortable with us communicating that up, that is what we do when we connect with our amazing Dr. Tori Nagash on a bi-weekly basis. So go ahead and be sure to save that Gmail account, add it to your calendar and your contacts. The next thing I'm going to copy and paste is when our next open meeting is occurring, which is slated for the 14th of June. And the link is a little different. So let me make sure I intentionally put the correct one. And I will follow that one up with the Kuhoai calendar, which has all of this information as well as the other networks information embedded. So if you want to make sure that you are sharing information to folks who have differing identities and or interests on topics, if you go to the Kuhoai calendar here, which is the link I'm getting ready to copy, you'll see the Latin network, the LGBTQ network, the Black Professionals Network, Global Partnerships Initiatives Network, etc. So take advantage of it because it's free 99. And be sure to share it out far and wide to others who are trying to figure out ways to stay engaged and build their network and take advantage of personal and professional development. But those are amazing individuals also doing great work. So we want to make sure we share the calendar so you all can see what's happening and when it's happening outside of conference season. And last but certainly not least, while we just have informal chit chat about whatever for those who want to stay on for the 15 minutes we do have left, is let us know how we're doing. So we've created a wonderful Qualtrics so that you can let us know content you're interested in wanting to discuss, or opportunities in which you all may want to collaborate on to do webinars, or if you're a conference person, create a presentation together. You drop that information in, and Michelle and I, shout out to also Jackie, we come together on efficient ways and cool ways to keep us all connected and working together, as well as complementing the amazing work that is happening. So thank y'all in advance for copying and pasting and storing this, and know that every time we meet, we're going to make it a habit of consistently putting this in toward the end of the meetings as well, in case you aren't able to do so. So now it's open floor, whatever's on your mind. And Michelle, if there's something I forgot, please let me know.
You did not forget anything. Thanks for copying and pasting all that stuff in there. I just am curious, how many folks will we see in Portland next month? All right. I love it. I love it. And for those who won't be there, we will miss you not being there. Miss you being there, not being there. But also for those who will be there, just a reminder on the schedule on that Wednesday at 4:45 local time. That's late for us East Coasters. We'll have an affinity social, so come and join us in the Women in Housing Network space. I'm not sure where that is just yet, so just look for us. We'll have, I think there will be some food opportunities. There will be some great networking and socializing. Deanna and I are working on some ideas on how, for those folks who are extroverted out for the day, maybe you just need something to do with your hands a little bit. We're gonna create some fun things to do as well. So we would love to see you and bring a friend or more than one friend. Oh, receptions are at the Hyatt Hotel. Perfect. Thank you. But to echo Deanna, other things, topics on your mind?
I have a shameless plug.
Plug.
That'll work for everyone, I hope. So I am a Stars College faculty member. And so just wanted to let y'all know, if you know of anybody that's interested in being in Stars College or participating in Stars College, please let your students know, especially some of our women that are maybe interested in pursuing a career in housing and in higher education in general. Even if they're kind of on the line or on the fence or whatnot, the applications are up and available now. Stars will be online again this October. It kind of aligns, or it does align with careers in careers in higher education month and everything. But please, if you know of any students that you're working with, or your staff that are working with those students who may think that housing or even higher education is for them, please let them know about the application. It's open and everything now. I can drop the link in the chat for everyone, but also if you know, or if you are an Stars alum, we would love to hear your stories as well, and maybe post it on our Instagram page and everything like that. I'll drop that link into the chat as well too.
Anything else on you all's minds or hearts in this moment? Thank you, Dr. Nagash. Wonderful. Well, again, I'm going to be in the space until 4. For those who need to transition and or just want the time back to yourselves, thank you all for making time to come into the space and engage with Michelle and I. And we hope that you all are able to continue to make it a great week.